Are you ready for your daily dose of radio rehab? Because we got some strategies. We got some strategies for living. Welcome into 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillan. She is PLPC Lauren Leon McMillan, and pretty important day today.
I suppose so.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a handful of minutes. The 2024 presidential debate.
I suppose if you're listening on radio, we're the only thing in your way.
We're not in your way. It'll be right here on this
Right.
very radio station following this program. And as it should be. I mean, there's a lot of people that are, that are looking to see what President Donald Trump, Vice President Kamala Harris, how they interact during this presidential debate. It may be the only one. That's yet to be determined. Maybe there will be more. Maybe there won't be. But this one will happen. And good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. And there's a lot going on. We don't usually do politics.
No. Right.
Here on Strategies for Living. And we're not changing that. Okay. But one of the things that I think we do need to talk about is how we talk to each other.
Yes, definitely.
How we're communicating with each other, because engaging in civil discussions during a presidential election
or everyday life.
Our everyday life. Yeah. But during this election cycle.
Sure.
It's a massive understatement to say it can be challenging. Mm-hmm. I mean, just, look at your social media feed, look at the comments going back and forth.
You probably don't have to look much farther than your own family.
You probably don't. And it's happening, it doesn't matter which camp you're in. It's happening on both sides. I want to talk a little bit about that this evening. Again, we're not taking any sides. However, the side I guess we are taking is how do we discuss respectfully, constructively, and civilly? Because
our values and ideas and our thoughts. Right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of conversation that needs to be had, but unfortunately, a lot of what is going on is not at all conversation.
No.
It's something else. And to be fair, both sides, I think, engage in that. I think a bunch of us are caught up in it. And the facts are the facts. Tuesday, November the 5th, 2024 is 56 days away.
Yeah.
And it's coming no matter what. There's a lot of people that are going to need to make some choices and decisions. There are still some people undecided out there. We'll talk about all of that and more today here on Strategies for Living. Folks, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you being with us, and we appreciate our sponsors making it possible. The Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners and Learning RX and Pintail Roofing and the Balanced Life Wellness Center. Back in a moment here on Strategies. Debate's just a few minutes away. Stay here. Hey, let's talk about the Robinson Film Center. I say it a lot. There's no place like the Robinson.
Absolutely, there is not.
617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. You've got so much. You got the movies. You got Abby Singer's Bistro on the second floor of RFC, open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Saturday.
Newly remodeled.
Absolutely. Great menu. RobinsonFilmCenter.org is the way you check it all out. You can go to RobinsonFilmCenter.org at any time and find out what movies are showing. Here's the deal. You want to join the crowd, join the fun, become a member. When you become a member, you become a star. You get discounts on movies, you get concession upgrades, you get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street in downtown Shreveport. I'll say it again. There's no place like the Robinson.
There is not, and I'm glad we have one right here.
Absolutely. The RobinsonFilmCenter.org.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Dawnisa Walker with Learning RX Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, Maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending. Learning RX Report offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call Learning RX Report. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child. So does Learning RX Report.
And welcome into 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. The 2024 United States presidential election is, of course, it's gonna be here Tuesday, November the 5th, 2024, and voters in every state and the District of Columbia are going to choose their electors to the Electoral College. Electoral College is who elects the president. And the Electoral College elects a president and a vice president for 4 years. And needless to say, in just a few minutes, we will all, many of us, maybe even most of us, will be either continuing to tune to the radio here, or if we're in front of a TV, we'll be watching TV to see what may be the only presidential debate of this cycle. Who knows? We'll see.
Right.
I hope there's more, but no guarantees for that. And man, there's been just a tremendous amount of discourse, if you will.
Yes. Emphasis on the dis, perhaps.
Yeah. And, I want to talk a little bit about that this evening.
Okay.
And not that we're going to do anything about it.
Oh, no.
But I think
we can present some strategies.
I think it's important that
always.
we all talk about it. I mean, there's a lot of personal attacks in elections in the best of times.
Right.
If you can take a step back, no matter which side you're on, I think maybe one of the things we can all agree on is these have not been the best of times in terms of elections. And that's been going on for a while. The polarization of ideologies.
It's been brewing
in
for
our
quite some time.
It has. And I don't want to say a date, but it didn't start in 2020. It didn't start in 2016. I don't think it started in 2008. I think you're right. I think it's been brewing a while.
It's been brewing under the surface, and I know this sounds strange, but to some degree, I think it's good. I think it's good that it's coming out into the open so that we can look at it, so we can deal with it.
Yeah.
Because we can't change or fix, quote unquote, anything we're not first aware of.
Well, one of the things that I think we all need to be aware of in this time where the ideologies are polarized, in that kind of time, voters and candidates often see the opposing side as a threat to their values or to their way of life. And this creates a mentality where demonizing the other side seems justified. And because it reinforces the idea that the other person's policies are dangerous. And both sides are saying that.
Yep. Yes.
And the vast majority of people, I think, don't belong on the extreme on one side or the other. The vast majority of people, I think, are good, rational people, and we're hopefully, I'll put you and I into that category.
Yes.
I hope we fit into that category. We want the best. We want the best for our nation. And we whatever happens, we want our nation to prosper and to move forward. But what's happening right now, again, on both sides,
Right.
is dangerous. it's dangerous for our nation, and there's a lot of people. There's a lot of talk. People wringing their hands. There's a lot of fear playing into this election cycle. And again, that hasn't started just with this election cycle. No. That's been brewing a while. But let's remember that FEAR, false expectations appearing real. How many times in our lives have we worried about something or been fearful of something, and then things came to be, and it ended up okay?
It's going to be okay. Everything's going to be all right.
And one of the things that I want to talk a little bit about this evening, one of the things that's built into our founding fathers, brilliantly built in a number of checks and balances into our federal government. And I want to talk a little bit about that this evening.
Okay.
But right at the onset, I'd like to challenge, and I'm going to do this. So I'm not, I'm not going to challenge anybody to do something that I am not going to do.
Okay.
Okay. Right. So I'm going to record the debate. And what I plan to do is I do plan to watch the debate tomorrow tonight
Yeah.
as it unfolds. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to listen back. I'm not going to say which candidate I'm leaning towards.
Right.
But the candidate that I am least likely at this point to vote for, I'm going to try to clear my mind, and I'm going to listen back to that candidate as open-mindedly as I can. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to fact-check the important information that candidate shares in tonight's debate.
Okay.
Then I'm going to listen back. I'm going to rewind, and I'm going to listen back to the candidate that I'm leaning toward.
Okay.
And I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to clear my mind, and I'm going to listen open-mindedly to that particular candidate, and I'm going to check the information that is important to me that candidate may share.
Okay.
All right. Now, that's just the process that I'm going to use.
I think that's a great academic and rigorous and intelligent way to do that.
I think that it's important that that all of us try to achieve open-mindedness. One of the things that I think is extremely influencing, there's several things, but this election and the last several elections have been influenced heavily by social media and the media in general.
Sure.
Social media in particular amplifies the extreme views and the personal attacks.
I think it's probably been interesting for you, in being able to see how each media has altered the political scene and process.
Yeah.
I would think for you, because you were there alive to see the first televised debate, right?
Yeah, I was certainly alive during the Kennedy-Nixon debates, the first televised debates. I was too young to pay attention to them as they happened.
Right, and to
but
be able to
being
tell
a
the
student,
difference.
being a student of history,
Right.
I certainly, was interested in looking back at them. And I have, it's interesting that you bring those up because in that debate, if you were listening to it on radio, Richard Nixon was judged to have won the quote unquote won the debate.
Okay.
But if you were watching on television, John F. Kennedy was judged by the majority to have won the debate.
Yeah, so just right there, you can immediately see the difference.
Right. But the fact of the matter is that media, and particularly social media, has influenced us greatly.
Sure.
And it certainly has led to the spread of more sensationalism, more emotionally charged content. The personal attacks grab attention and they drive more interactions, and that's what social media companies want, right?
Sure, right.
And
it's done a couple other things too, right? I mean, it's added a bunch more voices to the conversation.
Absolutely.
Which on one level is a good thing.
Absolutely,
right?
Yes.
But then the other thing you have to keep in mind, I think, with social media are the way that they're programmed to work, the algorithm aspect of it.
Right.
Like, so you're going to be fed specific information and media which is aligning with, things you've liked before, which will be within your spectrum, right? Which I think further adds, perhaps, to the can further add to the polarization.
That's why it is important to me, and why I'm challenging all of us, record the debate. Mm-hmm. And then, again, I'm not suggesting that anybody do something that I'm not going to do. Listen back to the candidate that you're least likely to vote for, mm-hmm. with as clear a mind as you can muster, and listen open-mindedly. Check the facts that are important to you of that candidate, and then listen back to the candidate that you are most likely or leaning towards. If you're neutral, if you're completely neutral, and I don't think there's too many of those, but if you are, then flip a coin, and
listen to one or
the other. If you're neutral, I don't suppose it matters. Flip the coin. But I think that it's important for us to challenge ourselves
and to remember
during these times.
Yeah, and I like that, because you're remembering the reason that you're voting is not for the personality.
No,
it's not for the person.
It's for this country that we love, and that we're,
and for
perhaps,
the promises.
Perhaps that's the thing mm-hmm. that we can agree on.
Yes.
If there's nothing else that we can find to agree on, maybe we can agree on the fact that
we love and want the best for our country.
We love our country.
Yeah.
And we respect our country. Our country and our founding fathers set up some very, very specific checks and balances that some people who are letting the fear get away with them are ignoring.
Yeah.
They're throwing those out. And, we've probably in our long history, quote unquote, short history, actually, in terms of the world.
For a nation, yeah.
For a nation, we've probably not always had the greatest executive. But anyway, we'll talk about this more here on Strategies. Stay with us. Dealing with stress, pain, feel like you're running out of options? When your life is balanced, wellness is a given. True wellness is holistic. It's about the mind, the body, and the spirit, all in balance. Now, there's a place right here in Shreveport that's all about helping us achieve peak mental, emotional, and physical health. The Balanced Life, 117 Kings Highway, right next door to Strawn's. Come see and feel the difference getting your life in balance can be. Many of your friends and neighbors have already learned the difference less stress and pain mean in their lives. You can book a discovery session right now online, thebalancedlife.us. All you've got to lose is stress, pain, or maybe both. Come see and feel for yourself the real difference balanced wellness makes. The Balanced Life Wellness Center, 117 Kings Highway in Shreveport, next door to Strawn's, thebalancedlife.us. And welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. Tuesday, November 5th, 56 days away, and just a few minutes away, we're going to be able to hear the candidates President Donald Trump, Vice President Kamala Harris. Unique election. Very, very historic in terms of there's many, many historic things in this election. And there's a lot of people that are wound very tightly. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We're talking about we're not shifting out of, we don't generally do politics here on Strategies, and we're not doing politics this evening as such. We're staying away from who to vote for or who to lean towards, but we are talking about how to
mental landscape around which surrounds
right
the environment we're in, which includes the election coming up, right?
There's a polarization of ideologies, certainly, that is in our country. Social media, that influence, campaign strategies. The candidates use personal attacks. Both sides are using personal attacks to distract from policy. No, it's not new.
It's not a
but
new thing.
it distracts from the real important stuff, which is policy discussion, and it casts doubt on the character of the opponent. And negative campaigning has worked for, it's been shown to be effective at influencing voter perceptions, even if it's damaging in the overall discourse. And I do believe that that's the case.
Absolutely, there's no doubt.
I think it is a very damaging thing. There's a lot of misinformation and disinformation out there. Again, social media is full of it. And the rise of misinformation, especially in social media, fuels the personal attacks. False or misleading information about candidates' personal lives or histories can quickly spread like wildfire, really. And it leads to unfounded attacks that really distract from where we really need to be focusing, which is on the policy. And there's been an erosion of civility, not just in this election, but in public discourse. I mean, this happens in local elections too,
Yeah.
It happens at all levels.
Oh, you mentioned those other two words, misinformation and disinformation, and it reminds me kind of another word that maybe belongs in this conversation along the lines of how to have more civil discourse.
Yeah.
And the word I'm thinking about is misidentification.
Okay.
Okay, and I think this is where we often will go awry in disagreements with each other, or conflict with each other, is when we identify with our values or our personality, the outer image,
Right.
and from that misidentification, we suddenly take things very personally.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Makes total sense.
That's what I think I've seen a lot of within the political arena lately.
So how can we ramp up civil discussion, emphasis on the civil, particularly during the rest of the election cycle? 56 days to go. A lot of people are wringing their hands and saying it doesn't matter which side wins. Our country is so divided. There's going to be a problem. Some of the political pundits are talking about that. And again, I think what the solution to that is to inject civility, to inject civility into our discussions, and that can start. You can start it right now within yourself. Yes. I mean, there's an old proverb that says, if everybody sweeps in front of their house, the whole street gets cleaned. And as challenging as it can be and polarized during these times, there are some strategies to keep the discussions respectful and constructive. And one of them is kind of built into my suggestion, because I'm going to tape the upcoming debate and I'm going to listen back to each candidate. I'm hoping that I will increase my active listening. I'm going to listen actively to truly understand each person's perspective,
Right.
each one of those candidates' perspectives.
Yeah, and in the best way you can, dropping any previous filters or ideas or beliefs about
Right.
the person.
Obviously, I can't ask each one of the candidates questions, but what I can do is I can listen, and I can especially listen and take notes on the particular the particular things in the election that are of interest to me. And again, I'm going to stay away from politics, so I'm not going to get on a soapbox and say what those are. But I have several things in this election that are very, very, they're very important to me.
Right.
Some people might say, "Well, you're 68 years old, so you might think you can guess one or two of them," and you may be right. But I'm not. I'm not going to say. But I'm going to listen actively, even though I can't ask clarifying questions. What I can do is I can fact check each one of the candidates on the issues that are most important to me. And in that way, now if you're having a discussion with someone else, then asking questions back and forth can be a very, very good way to actively listen.
And the key there is asking curious, open questions.
Yes.
Not with a specific tone, undertone, overtone.
Too many times we have an agenda.
Yeah.
We have an agenda, and when you ask a question, ask it, as you said, with with a genuine interest and an open mind.
Yeah, help me understand from your point of view,
Right.
why that's important to you or how you're seeing it that way.
I think it's important to stay calm and composed during discussions.
And what that requires is emotional regulation.
That's exactly
Being
right.
able to know your body and know when you need to get yourself regulated, when you need to leave.
And I plan to do that within the next hour.
Yeah.
I plan to sit, and again, I'm recording the debate so that I can do what I've said that I'm going to do, and I challenge all of us to do it this way. I mean, it's going to take some time. The debate's going to be about 90 minutes, so it's going to take the 90 minutes of watching the debate and then going back and watching it again for another 90 minutes and another 90 minutes. So hour and a half. I'm going to invest almost 5 hours into this process.
For the next 4 years.
But I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
I think it's worth it. I would challenge all of us to, it doesn't matter what the candidates do. I would challenge all of us during the next 56 days to, as we stay calm and composed and we genuinely converse with each other, that we avoid personal attacks, that we focus instead on discussing ideas and policies instead of attacking people. No name calling, no labeling the other person's beliefs negatively. You know how important your beliefs are to you. The other person you're talking to has important beliefs to them.
Right.
And that's respect. We can, and this is, I think, an important thing, Lauren, we can agree to disagree. We can understand that it's okay sometimes not to reach a consensus. The goal isn't to, in a conversation, the goal isn't to win, but it's to share perspective.
Right, and to understand, and to
Right.
grow each other.
Right. And so respectful disagreement fosters good communication. And that's kind of gone by the wayside.
Yes.
And I think it needs to be injected back. Again, we've got about 56 days until Tuesday, November the 5th. And I think most people would agree that the election, the 2024 election, it may not be the most important election in our history. Who knows? But it's an important election. This is an important time. And so I think another thing that we need to do is do our best to use reliable information. Joe Friday in the old television show and radio series before that, Dragnet, had a saying, just the facts, ma'am, just the facts.
Right.
We need to focus on facts and avoid spreading misinformation. We need to cite trustworthy sources, and if we're uncertain about something, acknowledge that, and instead of doubling down on misinformation, I'll get back to you on that. Let me do some checking. And then, go about doing that honestly and with integrity. In terms of people that they may be in our families, there may be people we work with, they may be people we go to church with, focus on common ground. Try to find what areas can we agree on, even if they're small.
Yep.
This can help keep the conversation balanced, and it can remind both people or both parties that there's some shared ground here. Again, one of the things I think we can all agree on is we wouldn't be so passionate about this if we didn't love our country.
Right, and we didn't want the best for ourselves and each other.
Exactly. And people have different ideas about what's the best way forward. But one of the things I don't think we need to lose sight of, and we're going to come back and talk about this, our brilliant founding fathers built into the federal government something called checks and balances.
Right.
And I think at a time like this, it is important to remind ourselves that those checks and balances are there. So we're going to talk about that when we come back here on Strategies for Living.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us. The debate is just minutes away, right here on Keel. You're going to see the difference. When you go to Azalea Cleaners, you'll hear about it too. Azalea Cleaners has been fine dry cleaning since 1958, plus laundry, alterations and repairs, comforters, wedding gown cleaning and restoration. You'll hear about it from your friends because they'll see it too. They'll notice the Azalea difference. Azalea is convenient. 732 Azalea Drive, 9220 Ellerby Road, and 9227 Mansfield Road. Plus, the front door of your home or business with Azalea's delivery on demand. Just text SETUP to 249-8283, and Azalea will pick up your clothes and deliver them back clean and fresh to you. You can't get closer than that. That's the Azalea difference. You'll notice it right away. Others will too. The Azalea difference. Fine dry cleaning since 1958. Text SETUP to 249-8283 and get the Azalea difference. AzaleaCleaners.com. And welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Where does time go? I mean, 56 days. November 5th, Election Day will be here. And in the next few minutes, we're all going to, I think, witness a little bit of history. No matter which side you happen to be on, we are all witnessing, and maybe this is something we can agree on. In addition to, we love our country. Otherwise, it wouldn't matter.
Right.
We wouldn't be passionate about this. But I think maybe we can also agree about the historic nature of this election as we count down the minutes for the 2024 presidential debate. Hopefully it won't be the only one, but it may be. We don't know yet, but we know this one is scheduled. So, as we move towards this election, we talked about in the last segment, our founding fathers very brilliantly put into our Constitution the idea of checks and balances. The government, the federal government, is structured with a system of checks and balances to ensure that no single branch becomes too powerful. And yes, the executive branch is a powerful branch, but there are checks and balances that operate among the three branches: legislative branch, which of course is Congress, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. That's the legislative branch. And there's the executive branch. We're focused on that right now, the president and the vice president, cabinet. And then there's the judicial, the Supreme Court, and other courts.
Right.
And so there are checks on the executive. Of course, the president has veto power, but the legislative branch can override a presidential veto with 2/3 majority in both the House and the Senate. So again, it's not just the presidential election that is important. It's who we elect to represent us.
Right.
Yeah. Of course, we're very proud around here that our congressman happens to be the Speaker of the House
Right.
of Representatives, the Honorable Mr. Johnson, and Mike Johnson is our 4th congressional district congressman, but he's also third in line to the president. That's pretty neat. That's pretty cool for our area. The legislative branch holds the power of the purse. It controls federal spending, and it limits the executive's ability to act without congressional approval. And the legislative branch, as we have seen, can impeach and remove a president. The House impeaches, the Senate conducts the trial. Again, it's all checks and balances. Also, the Senate confirms presidential appointments, cabinet members, federal judges, and also the legislative ratifies the Senate ratifies treaties. On the judicial side, the legislature can impeach and remove federal judges, and Senate confirms federal judges, including Supreme Court justices, and can propose constitutional amendments to overturn judicial rulings. So again, the process is the process.
Right.
But there's a process there, and it's important that we keep that in mind. The executive branch, the president has checks on both the legislative and the judicial. On the legislative, the president can veto. The president can call special sessions of Congress and has the power to issue executive orders. On the judicial, of course, the president appoints federal judges, including the Supreme Court justices, and can also issue pardons and reprieves. So again, there are these checks and balances built in. The judicial also has checks on the legislative branch. It can declare, the judicial branch can declare laws passed by Congress unconstitutional. And on the executive, they can declare executive actions unconstitutional and can issue rulings that limit executive power. So, again, look at what is built in. And our founding fathers, and maybe this is something that we can hopefully all agree on too, is we revere our Constitution. The people who fought to put that document into practice, those people put everything on the line.
Mm-hmm.
And, I often, I'm not saying this to anybody else, but I often think as an appreciator of history, if I were in that place, would I have the resolve? Would I have the courage to do what the men
Right.
and the women bring us this incredible document
Right.
that is the United States Constitution? Before that, everything got started with the life and liberty. Their entire lives were on the line for something that
We still uphold today.
yeah. And
And
so
we're standing upon.
that is no small thing.
No.
And because those checks and balances are there, again, maybe, just maybe, we can relax a little bit, take a step back, and again, I'm 68 years old. I'm not gonna, I have my opinions from I don't remember President Eisenhower, but he was president when I was born in 1956.
Right.
I certainly remember President Kennedy, President Johnson, President Nixon, President Ford, President Carter, and on and on. And I have my opinions as to who were better presidents than others. But the bottom line is our nation survived all of the people
Right.
that I judged the worst and the best,
Yeah.
whoever those might have been. And, I believe that our nation will continue to survive. And I think
We are survivors.
we
aren't
are survivors. And in just a few minutes, we're gonna watch a very, very important exchange. We'll watch or listen to a very, very important conversation as we move towards Tuesday, November the 5th, 56 days away. Talking about it this evening, right here on Strategies for Living. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Jay Merle for Pintail Roofing. Let's talk about quality. When you hire Pintail to build your roof, here's what you can expect. Quality and quality control are the most important concerns for us at Pintail, and you need to know that Pintail stands tall with swift and professional performance on any warranty call. This is our most important policy. And remember, we're your neighbors. We'll be here for you for the long haul. Our family's lived here for over 100 years, and we aren't going anywhere. On the commercial side of Pintail's business, our fluid-applied roofing solutions can save thousands of dollars over conventional commercial roofing options. Call Pintail at 226-ROOF for a free inspection of your home or commercial building. That's 226-7663. Pintail Roofing. What's the condition of your roof?
And welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Just a few minutes away from a little bit of history as we all await the 2024 presidential debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. President Donald Trump, Vice President Kamala Harris. Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's important that we give respect to the, you may not have a bit of respect for Kamala Harris or for Donald Trump, but Donald Trump was he was president of the United States before President Biden and Vice President Harris. Those offices mean something.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, and they require a lot out of a person, right? I wouldn't want to be there.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. And we talking about living over the store, that's a job that you live over the store.
Yeah. It's a good
So
point.
I hope we've put some things into perspective this evening. Again, I hope we reminded ourselves of the checks and balances that are built into our wonderful system, our incredible system that our founding fathers
And beyond that,
delivered
the
to us.
checks and balances that are within ourselves that
Yeah.
we can always trust and hold rooted in who we are.
The words of the brilliant Benjamin Franklin ring in my head. What kind of a government have you gotten for us, Mr. Franklin? A republic, ma'am, a republic, madam, if you can maintain it.
You can make
And so that's what we're involved in. Folks, thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Strategies for Living today. Thank you for listening to Lauren's rants.
right.
And we appreciate our sponsors making it possible, the Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners and Learning RX, and Pintail Roofing, and the Balanced Life Wellness Center. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call to make, who would you call? And what would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Lauren Leon McMillan, I'm David McMillan. See you next time right here on Strategies for Living.